Now, do you use self-service tills at the supermarket? Do the words unexpected item in bagging area cause your blood pressure to rise? Well, all the major supermarkets have introduced self-service checkouts in the past 10 years as a way of reducing staff and cutting costs. They initially claimed the tills were more efficient and convenient because they cut queues. But one supermarket says many of its customers don't like them. Morrison says it's opening more manned express checkouts at each of its stores because its research shows the vast majority of shoppers like to deal with a person. And nearly 70% of shoppers said the self-scan tills made them anxious and worry about holding people up. Well, on the line now is behavioural psychologist Jez Rose and Louise Cooper, who's an independent financial expert with strong views on checkouts. Thank you both for joining us. Louise, do you hate them as much as I do?
Okay, so I do the family weekly food shop. Stupidly, I chose one week to do it self-checkout. I almost cried in tears of frustration and agony. Because what you don't realise is, you've got a trolley. What I actually needed is a trolley the other side. So I'm getting the trolley. I then have to, normally, for example, you're waiting, you're queuing, so you can put all your stuff in the trolley onto the conveyor belt thing and then wait until it's actually time to pack it. But with a self-serve, you have to put it onto the conveyor belt thing, then you have to scan it, then you have to bag it, then you have to put it in the trolley. Oh, but you don't have a trolley because it's still got all your stuff in. So it was just a nightmare. I had bags everywhere. I mean, so many times I couldn't scan it. No idea why. Literally, it took me half an hour just to scan it. I swore I would never do it again.
And then that's not taking into account if you've got wine, they'll need to buzz to make sure you're over 18. If you've got reduced items, well, but they still has to check because there's a computer it can't work it out. If you've got reduced items, it'll hold it up. If you've not got items that are in bags, if you get single apples, I mean, it really is. It's complicated, isn't it?
I almost, and that, oh, by the way, that tale of woe was without children. Can you imagine the hell with like a toddler and a baby as well? The whole thing was horrific. Never, ever, ever do it with a weekly family food shop. Absolute hell.
Jez, I'm imagining that that whole sort of experience that Louise describes is a source of modern stress.
Oh, hugely. I mean, I've been banging on about this for years. I'm so pleased that finally somebody's stopped it all. All of the queues and queues and queues of tearful, stressed and anxious customers that are just having to go through this just because they thought it would be quicker and be better for their bottom line. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. We know that there's tons of research that shows that if you reduce human contact or reduce contact with living things, it increases levels of stress and decreases the level of well-being. So why on earth you would ever do that in a customer service scenario is beyond me. The older days, people by people, and some bright spark years ago decided to completely cut that out of the equation and just make you deal with a machine that, as you quite rightly said, doesn't know what you need to do half the time anyway. So yes, I think a lot more stressful than it needed to be.
Louise, I was going to ask, we've had a text saying that the self-service machines, which I never use either, I would rather stand and wait in a big long queue if there was one, but these machines don't pay tax, they don't pay council tax, they're not contributing to local services, so this person is very much against them, thinking it's a cost-cutting exercise. It does away with jobs as well.
Well, now there is, that was the big weekly family food shop. I will do self-serve if there's a big long queue and I'm just popping in for a convenience shop and just need to buy a couple of newspapers, some bacon and some milk.
I still
you need to be good at probability. This is how I assess it. So what I do is I look at the length of the queue, and then I think to myself, well, what shop am I in? What's the likelihood that the self-serve won't work? Because depending on the shop you're in, different ones have self-serve that are better than others. So I'm thinking, okay, so what's the probability of it not working? And assuming then I have to wait for somebody to come over and help me, I'm sort of doing this maths in my head. The minutes of waiting in the queue to be served versus the minutes of waiting to do self-serve, including the probability that it won't work.
Is that not adding to your stress, though, as Jess was saying?
I quite like doing maths in the queue. The other really good thing, okay, actually this is really funny, the other really, really good thing is I was recently standing in a co-op queue to be served, and I discovered my daughter's knits, actually. Co-op queue. And I think,
you waited so long, you had time to look at her and find them.
Exactly. I think, think people would have preferred maybe I was in a queue all by myself at that point.
I
It
don't use them
happened when you started, though. That's the thing.
and for me, it's a point of principle. If I wanted to work the checkouts, I'd go and apply for a part-time job there.
Well, somebody else actually got in touch with us to say that. John Daly who on Twitter tweeted me to say he never uses them, and he says it's one step away from the supermarket saying, why don't you just stack the shelves when you're in? So there is that feeling of resentment, is there not, that you think, well, hang on a minute, I'm not getting anything back for this, Jez. You know, I'm not getting any benefit from it. You're not paying me for this. So therefore you come out with a kind of feeling of resentment.
Sure, yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I have to say that all of the research certainly points to that it is more about this lack of human touch, you know, this emotional intelligence. We engage at a much greater level with living things. But interestingly, you know, the writing's been on the wall for years. 53% of the UK's population said that they would move product provider because of poor customer service. So I never quite understood why we went this way, and for years we've had to put up with this. I mean, poor Louise sounds like she's a woman on the edge. I mean, it's just all because of fruit pastels.
Louise, does this suggest, Louise, with your financial hat on, does this suggest that Morrison's are actually listening to their customers, though?
Oh, who knows? I mean, it's quite interesting that they've decided to do this, because Tesco is the same. Tesco has also decided to get rid of great swathes of management who sit around and do nothing, in my personal experience of managers. Sorry to say that to all of you who are out there who are managers, but decided to get with great swathes of management. And what they're doing is reinvesting into the frontline staff. You know, that's supposed to be, as we just heard, it's all about customer service and looking after your customers. Although I note today, Royal Bank of Scotland's had results today. And again, they've got some data on whether customers would recommend them. And it seems their customers won't recommend them. And particularly in Scotland, Royal Bank of Scotland, only 10% of their customers actually trust them. So we talk about supermarkets. I think banks have got quite a long way to go in terms of trust and customer service as well.
Jez Rose and Louise Cooper, thank you very much for that.